Howdy folks, Zethios here, and welcome to our next playthrough. We'll see how loud the music is. It's certainly pretty loud right now. And we have the music down very, very low. Effects are really low. Probably got to just turn down master volume just a little bit less. I'm just seeing how it sounds, the levels on the deal, which I hate turning down the music. Because this music is fantastic. I am instantly in on this. So this is in another Obsidian game. You know, guys make Pillars of Eternity, Fallout New Vegas, all that fun stuff. They have a pretty good track record with things. And my goodness, it's so hard to just talk and not just listen to this magnificent soundtrack. This is what instantly hooked me on this. And it makes me feel like I'm going to have a great time with the game. This is the music. It was the same way with Dragon Age Origins way back in the day. I was instantly hooked by the music in that game. Music is such an underrated quality in games, especially RPGs. And so, yeah, we're going to play some Tyranny. Now, we're going to go normal, because this is basically... Yeah, I don't know why I'm thinking about it. This is the first time me playing through the game. What am I even talking about? So yeah, we're not, big time strat gamer. We're just here for the story, and we want to be able to get through the game and not have to be too frustrated by all this stuff. But I appreciate these options here. But I don't have isometric RPG skills, especially with magic and stuff. And it's super bad. Oh, the music. I'm just going to keep ramping on about the music because the music is just killer. And so, yeah. So if you're new to the channel, we play RPGs and we try to be fairly, like this is going to be very, we got to build a character from the ground up and we got to learn what world we're in and what kind of journey we're in for and figure out, how we develop this character along the way. So, we're gonna probably be taking our time with this and seeing where it takes me, and I'll try to learn as much as I can. And there's gonna be so much lore and stuff handed out like right out the gate. This is a very lore intensive game. This is one of the things that I have heard about it. Well, if you're playing an isometric RPG, especially from Obsidian, then that's what you're in for. Is there's lots of lore and it's a very fleshed out world, and they're fun to play in. And so this seems very like dystopian, where they're like, think of especially with this back here, think of if Sauron won in Lord of the Rings. This is what the world is. That's basically the gist of what I've gotten from things that I've seen surrounding Tyranny. And so why don't we get started? So we're probably going to go straight into character creation, I'm assuming. Or there may be a cutscene. Cutscene it is. Hello. I love the art design in this.
For over 400 years, the armies of Kairos the Overlord have swept across the known world. All who stood against them fell before their might. Even the Archons, women and men of immense power, were forced to kneel, chained to the Overlord's will. Now Kairos' final conquest has come to our corner of the world, and two of the Overlord's armies compete for the honor of taking our lands. The elite disfavored, and the teeming horde of the Scarlet Chorus.
Disfavored and Scarlet Chorus, okay.
The voices of Nerat, spy master and archon of secrets, guides the fierce and undisciplined masses of the Scarlet Chorus. With each battle, the Scarlet Chorus grows stronger, as the defeated are given a simple choice: serve or die.
Interesting.
Graven Ash, Archon of War and the Overlord's most loyal general, leads the disfavored.
God, this music.
Though small in number, Kairos' ironclad legion has never met true defeat in open battle. Watching over the two generals is Tunon, the Adjudicator, Archon of Justice, eldest of Kairos' minions. Tunon brings Kairos' laws to newly conquered lands, aided by the Fatebinders, judges and executioners of the Overlord's laws. You were among the youngest of the court of Fatebinders when Kairos' armies came to our lands.
Alright, so we're
How could you have
Fatebinder.
known that the fate of thousands would rest in your hands?
Golly. Like I said, throwing a lot at us right out the gate. Fatebinder. Who we are. Okay, and here's what we could potentially be. Right? Okay, so this is probably going to be a heavily edited part of the video. Just me going through character creation and learning a bunch of things. And so if you're not interested in that at all, then you probably have to skip the first video just entirely, because that's what this is going to be. And I'll probably have the because I know there's something at the very, very end that's kind of like another setup to like your past and stuff, and I've told that can take a while, depending on how you do it, before you actually get into the game. So out of these body types, it's really tall and skinny. I don't know if we have a tall, skinny. We're not going to be like big, bulky tank man. Probably just go with in between here. I kind of have an idea of what I want to go with, but it's interesting. And there's some interesting little tidbits. Like over here, look at, I just saw this. So, Southern lands only men may own or captain ships, but only women can own like real estate. Interesting. Sons enter their father's profession. Excuse me. So if your dad's a blacksmith, you're a blacksmith. If your dad's a soldier, you're a soldier. Those without a profession can work to find purpose by pledging service to one of the Archons. Criminals and others are often conscripted into the armies. If a child cannot forge his own skein, however that's pronounced, you'll certainly find one in battle. Okay. So basically, if you don't have a profession, you get conscripted into the armed forces. Okay. Interesting. Alright. So we're gonna go blonde hair. I always like blonde hair look. Wish we could change the eye color. I haven't seen anything that changes the eye color. Is there kind of more face options? But this is, I mean, out of all the other stuff. Yeah, let's go with that. Hair-wise, we go Lex Luthor. I would definitely do a freaking Lex Luthor in this. Is have him be like a super powerful mage, not with the ponytail though. Yeah, we can just go with the like straight hair back look. Since probably depending on what our background is, I'm thinking that it's someone who doesn't really like the only like hair care that he does is like cut it off at the once it reaches the shoulders type thing. Oh wait.
Moving cautiously.
We must rest soon. Will do. To battle!
Yeah, we're not gonna be
Good work.
roided
You
up.
learn something every day.
And we're not gonna be some Ponzi noble.
Moving cautiously. We must rest soon.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm assuming that's just like, usually like during fights or movement and stuff. That's when that stuff is. When that stuff happens. We got a hooded. Seems like more like a mage. There's some interesting portraits. The bearded guy. I really like that one. I don't know if that'll go with what we're going for. Really. That's the problem with portraits, right? Just finding, you gotta like kind of find one that matches what you're going for. That one's kind of, right? We can live with that guy, I think. There's a lot of portraits. That's a good amount of portraits. Yeah, we'll go with this. This is nice. I'll go with it. This thing probably gonna do. Okay, so how did we join the army? So diplomats, so we came from wealth, and we did tours, and had tutors. I had a worldly and varied education, so I'm very world traveled if I were to do this. I got into legal trouble. And concurred. They claimed me as an enforcer based on my arguments in court. Okay. War mage, no. Tunon the adjudicator. So a lot of these are going to be Tunon. We're going to be under Tunon's tutelage because he makes us a fate binder. So let's see. Casters and warriors. Earliest memories are a painful slog of training, study, lecture, and exhaustion. All the elements groomed for battle. You better than to ask what became of your family. Missives allegedly penned by their hand. They're part of your earliest lessons in reading. Interesting. Better spent. Punitive legal remedies. Shunan's a great enforcer. Okay. Lawbreaker. Accused of a crime you most certainly did commit. That's funny. You stood before Tunon the adjudicator, argued your case, was impressed, but he found you guilty anyway. Selects many agents from his prisoners. Who better to catch the wicked than those versed in wickedness? Mercy. Tunon's mercy offered you the chance for 2 sentences. So you could be in prison for a long time, or you can spend your life serving him as a fate binder. So instead of seeing the inside of a cell, you were trained in all those things. The laws you once broke are now yours to interpret and enforce. That's one's interesting. Soldier, yeah. You learned how to stay calm at the sight of blood and disembowelment. Rely on your fellow warriors. Smarter, groomed for command. So, yeah. So, it would put us in with the disfavored. Okay. So, we learned about the disfavored in that cutscene. They're led by... They're the elite forces. They're like the Spartans of Kairos. Kairos' laws. So Overlord Kairos is basically like the Sauron, I'm guessing. Kairos can issue edicts, which are magical proclamations that level cities, spread pox, sunder the lands, or change the course of seasons. Wow. So that's crazy. He can issue proclamations that just magically do big damage. We know who Tunon is. So yeah, not a soldier, a noble scion. Scion, so yeah, again, much like the diplomat, wealth, came from wealth. Parents came under accusation of sedition, so they wanted to, like, become independent. Parents were found guilty. So we pled ignorance and negotiated immunity at the simple cost of swearing fealty. Education is having more valuable addition. Good standing, your family just might be allowed to live. That's interesting, but not who we're going for. Guild apprentice. Deeply proud of your intelligence. Your parents always knew you were too smart. Put your hands in the soil. Parents struck a bargain with the tree guild. Magical order willing to teach you all those things. If you're capable. You learn from mages. Basics of mystic theory and spellcraft. The voices of Narat. Okay, that's a different thing. Known as the official capacity of the Archon of Secrets. The voices of Narat are equal parts genius and madman. Rubes around that he can steal the minds of others. Are alive to confirm as much. The subjects of his interrogation are never heard from again. And the Archon is able to recall the memories of his victims with startling accuracy. Okay, is that the, Okay, so that's the guy who runs the other... So there are two trees to the military. There's a disfavored. Right? Where's that at? It's under soldier. Disfavored legion. And the voices of Narat. Well, who's the Archon of Secrets? Who's the Archon overheading that, whatever the name of those armies guys are. I forget their name off the top of my head now. Alright, so next one. Leader of the home village spoke out. Agents of the Overlord put the whole town to the torch. The bounding Viper tribe came across the ruins of my village, and the beast matriarch found me, frozen but unafraid. The leader took me in and raised you with the protection of her tribe. So for years, you lived with wild beastmen in the mountains. The Vipers were a dying breed. Each winter took a greater toll. Once the dwindling tide was too weak, disfavored soldiers came to dispense of the scavengers their tribe has become. Finding a human amongst the tribe, the disfavored made a point of taking you alive. News of the wild child of the north eventually spread to the Archon of Justice, and he ordered you released from captivity and delivered unto his court. Okay, that's interesting. And Pit Fighter is pay to feed and house two. The madam that purchased your mother sold you the proving grounds. Okay, so your mother was a prostitute. The Northern Empire's bloodiest, most towards fighting arena, giving your training to ensure the show isn't over too soon. Our prowess and survival instinct led to one victory after another. There was no elegant swordplay, no formalized duels, just brutal melee, stench of blood, shit, and bronze. It is said that any fighter that slays a dozen others in a grand melee is given their freedom. But in 300 years, only 3 warriors ever walked away from the proving grounds. When the closing horn sounded and 13 corpses lay about your feet, you became the 4th to be granted freedom. To thunderous applause, but this autonomy was short-lived. Within days, word of your accomplishment made its way to the Archon of Justice. So out of all of those, I think we're going to go with Hunter as our little backstory. So we were a wild child raised by beastmen in the mountains, and have just recently come into contact with the rest of the known world. And so probably, I would say, it doesn't say this, I'm going to give us like a year that we have been with the disfavored and then recently made into the Fatebinder. Alright, so let's move on. So what should our expertise be? I'm going to put our expertise at shortbow and heartshot. So we're not going to do any magic in this run, because it's just, I want to look at how the magic works via the companions that we get. I'm assuming that we get companions that all have all these different types of magics. So we have Shock, Frost, Vigor, and Atrophy. So like Life, Death, and Shock and Frost. So it seems like those are the only 4 types of magic. Maybe they'll go into, fire and other stuff. Who knows? But we went with Hunter, and so I think that the short bow is our best bet. And I like the idea of Heart Shot because it's there's like a little bit of bleed and accuracy, and we get a little skills from it. So, short bow, and then our second one. I like the idea of spear and shield. In case we need to like tank up a little bit. But I think we're gonna go with dual wield. Just like if they get up close and personal, then we'll have to do this, and we'll probably go with slice. And I think this kind of hasn't been fixed or whatever, right? Oh no, it does. It does. It just updates, and I didn't see it. I'm a big old dummy. All right. So slice is basically what you think it is, another bleeding effect, and it gives us some more of those skills. I think at least. All right, banner. This one. Oh god, this is tough. I don't know. God, there's so many. Let's see. I kind of want nothing very shieldy or hammery or heavy armory. Kind of just want to go. You can go with that. I don't want to go. Do you want to go red background, black? Either want to go like this and this. Because I want. Okay, we definitely want black as, I guess, major accent with red. Yeah, with red accenting with black major. So I was trying to say there, and I guess we'll go with the same on the banner, and we'll go with the snake because the snake is cool. And it kind of just, I don't want to go with anything too, like crazy like that. I don't know. I don't know how much of a shit I want our character to be. He's kind of unfamiliar with the world at large, being raised the way he was. And so that's kind of, I don't know how selfish Zethios is going to be. I don't know how he's going to react to certain factions and their ideals and what they like to do versus what he would do in a situation. Okay, so gold is strongly recommended. It's recommended. Okay, so might, physical strength, powerful attack, stronger abilities, finesse, physical and mental precision, accuracy, as armor's chances to reduce. Okay. Quickness determines how they use their abilities and spells. Reduces cooldown. Vitalities, physical health. Strength of personality. Interesting. I don't know. Wits, character's mental acuity, ability to observe their environment and pick up on clues. Wit is used to increase spell strength as well as increase magical defense. Does it like give him more? No, it just tells us what's here. Okay. It just reaffirms what we have. Okay, resolve, endure physical and mental challenges. So, durations of afflictions applied to the character. So probably things like bleed, poison, frost, shock, whatever. Okay, so probably go with, we had, 8 points? And I guess they all account for 1. Like if we went all the way up here, yeah. It's 8 points. We're not going to do that. That would be ridiculous. Alright, let's go 14 finesse, and then 2 quickness, 2 might. I think that seems like that's the way they want us to go. I'm not sure about, I gotta know more about what stats do in terms of dialogue choices or interacting with the environments before I go into these areas that aren't recommended. Okay, so now we have skills. So again, we'll just go probably 40 there. And 35. And I guess just get bow all the way up to 39. Kind of round out everything. So these are... Okay, so these are all different types of weapon skills that we are able to do. I'm interested in unarmed combat at some point. Maybe I may do an unarmed mage in a different life. Who knows? Lore. Wish to learn new runes. Lore is used in dialogue, but you know about the history of the world. So yeah, this guy is definitely not... definitely doesn't know about the world at large. Parry defends against melee and spells. Reduce damage, or make him miss altogether. Subterfuge is what I thought it was. Detect traps. Open lock chest and doors. Used in dialogue to determine your ability to deceive or trick who you're speaking with. Okay. So I guess these are more the skills that you would use in dialogue versus your attributes. Maybe the attributes work in too, who knows. Dodge defends against ranged attacks and magic. Higher skill ranks will reduce damage taken, or even cause them to miss altogether. Then athletics, traverse difficult terrain. I'm familiar with that with pillars. And execute complicated moves in combat. Athletics also used in dialogue to determine the ability to intimidate or physically overpower someone. Okay. So yeah, that gives us some options with dialogue in the world and stuff. Okay. In this game. So we're basically going through the prologue right now. So let's do that.
All the world has fallen to Kairos, and now the Overlord's eye is on the Tears, our home.
Tears.
The last corner of the world free of Kairos' reign. Two armies,
Scarlet Chorus, that was her
the
name.
Disfavored and the Scarlet Chorus, march south from the Northern Empire, the last realm to fall to Kairos a century prior. In the early days of 428, Kairos' armies arrive at the Gates of Judgment.
Gates of Judgment.
The mountainous border that we Tearsmen so long believed unassailable. Unable to agree on a unified plan of defense, the various leaders of the Tears sit and wait for each other to deal with the conquerors. Until it's too late.
Alright. Conquest. You'll decide what our character does during the invasion of the Tears. So this shapes the world through which you will adventure over the course of the game. Each choice you make affects your character and how major factions of the Tears responds to you. Our decisions matter, so choose wisely. Okay, so this is basically like set up by the dungeon master before we get to playing, basically. Cool. The Bastard City. Hello, Bastard City. Named for its position between two realms, Northern Empire and Southern Tears, the Bastard City and its surrounding lands is a melting pot of cultures and a place of commerce and intrigue. Okay, there we go. Tearsmen of the South view the Bastard City as a place of wealth and excess. With the people of the Northern Empire, the Bastard City is little more than a sprawling slum. Junon, the Adjudicator, established his court in the Bastard City. From his footholds of the Tears, he and his court of Fatebinders imposed Kairos' laws on the conquered land. Alright, so it stood on the border. It's built on a harbor, crossroads between realms, nexus of commerce. Alright, so yeah, backwater trading post. Symbolic status is a gateway to the continent. Made its natural first target in the Conquest. Circumstances were ideal for you to prove your worth as a soldier. Taking this city would send a message to the rest of the Tears. Kairos would be insurmountable. So are we a Fatebinder yet? Or are we just a soldier? And, trying to think of the Hunter and the Wild Beastmen, so I still haven't known a lot, so there's a lot that's going to be me just thinking of what the experience was like being a mountainous beastman tribe. And I didn't see anything about them being raiders of humans. And it seems like they came across our village that was burned to the ground, and we were left in the frozen tundras, but we were not dead. And so the matriarch was impressed slash empathetic to this helpless being that was us, and brought us in to be one of theirs, to be made one of their own. It didn't say anything about them going off and raiding. It said there's just like scavengers. So, and I think on the hunter thing it put us with the disfavored. So I think that's what I'm going to be like siding with for the most part in this, depending on what's going on. So this is just, soldiers fighting soldiers. So let's do that. Oathbound scouts identified a modest border defense and collaborated in an organized attack that would leave the enemy uncoordinated and cut off from aid. You oversaw the preparations and offered your opinions. When the clashing of swords and spears fell to silence followed by the cheering of scouts, you were the least surprised. Alright, and that takes out those two options. So you get to pick one of two. This one's interesting. I think for us, we seem to be better as someone who is obviously with subterfuge and things. So if we, so we're probably more familiar with the kind of I'd say the underworld side of things. So smugglers, thieves, con artists, what have you. I think we'll come to an understanding better here. So I think we're going to go with Inside Agent, and I think we're going to go with this option. After accepting the deserved payment, the smuggler uncovered a long-forgotten tunnel that intersected with the sewers of the Bastard City. Armed with maps of the subterranean route, the Scarlet Chorus allies fanned out to occupy various city districts undercover. They spent the ensuing weeks murdering key officials and sabotaging defenses wherever possible, weakening the tier's capital on the very noses of its leaders. Okay. Your tactics of infiltration placed you in the Bastard City, ahead of the main armies. Your work softened the city's defenses for the arrival of Kairos' forces, but you wanted a decisive gesture that would give your allies a meaningful advantage. How did you assist in the fall of Bastard City? Okay. So you challenged the commander to an honorable fight to the death. Disfavored wishes to spare lives for the battles ahead and civilian lives for occupation. Or you converted the poor and disaffected into a hidden army of the Scarlet Chorus. Once the dust settled, the army wished to bolster their troops with these sleeper cells. These give you abilities, which basically like reduces damage and gives you more health. So a tanky thing. And so it gets like this is like a fire effect. Or we can keep to the shadows. You eliminate leaders of the Bastard City one by one. Sealing shadows. Out of those three options, I like that for our guy. He seems a very sneaky boy. Some deaths were quiet and unnoticed, while others were gruesome beyond words. As your wave of murder overtook the city's elite, your deeds swelled in infamy. Well before the armies arrived, no one in the Bastard City felt safe in their homes, much less behind their walls. By the time Kairos' forces crested the horizon, the city was fearful enough to throw open the gates and welcome their new protectors. Wow. We, did some damage, apparently. Okay. So the Bastard City is taken. Our name is being whispered. A decorated career. Alright, army is divided, 2 fronts. You were to join the next frontier either as judge and overseer of Lathan's Crossing or as a war advisor with the armies advancing to the realms of Apex. Judge and overseer or war advisor? I don't know. What's Lathan's Crossing? Built in the shadow of an old Mole's Junction in the realm of Haven, Lathan's Crossing is a growing trading settlement. Nearby rivers are rich in iron. Locals lack the technology to smelt and forge it. In the years following Kairos' conquest, the population swelled with refugees fleeing the destruction of their homelands. Presence of the forge-bound mining the iron, along with their guards, make this makeshift settlement a vital resource in Kairos' armies. Or the Apex. Realm of Apex. It kind of highlights where these two are. Okay, Apex. The troops in the mountain realm of Apex stood idle in the safety of their valley, biding their time as their neighbors in the bastard tier fell. In the second year of the war, a joint force of disfavored and Scarlet Chorus crossed over the mountains to take control of the tier's central valley. Okay, so I'm guessing each of these events coincide with a year. And so it looks like may have like 4 or 5 years maybe of stuff to do. So what does it say? Do you want to be a judge, an overseer, or a war advisor? I don't see him being very Zethios right now is being very judgy. Seems to be more of a man of action as opposed to words and overseeing things. But both of these seem like we're pretty out of it. But maybe as a war advisor in Apex, maybe there's more that we can do. So let's go to Apex. Oh yeah, that's gonna take a while. Yeah, year 2. We're in year 2. Hello, Apex. Thank you for bringing that up. Alright, Mountain Nation of Apex. Queens of House Vendrian stood at the heart of the tiers. No army could bypass the landlocked realm without leaving their flank exposed to attack. So the second year of the war, both disfavored and Scarlet Chorus are here, dispatched to conquer it. He's assigned us to accompany them, bringing Kairos' law to the territory, keeping an eye on both armies. You know, I'm not a fan of either of those options. Let's go to the mages, and we'll give the mages to the Scarlet Chorus. Though countless lives were lost taking the mages into custody, the Scarlet Chorus praised your name as they dragged the beaten elders of the school to the voices of Narat's tent. As a wave of screams and incoherent pleas reached their crescendo, the Scarlet Chorus shoulders outside cheered for their Archon. The disfavored adjourned to their camp in grim silence, claiming the chorus lacked the will and desire to fully wipe out all traces of the enemy school. So yeah, both were bad options. But I'm assuming that's going to be a theme. I think tragedies happen, act was not targeted with intent. Okay, so I'm thinking that it's bad that they poisoned the water but didn't tell disfavored. And whether or not it was probably on purpose that they didn't tell disfavored because they're shits to each other, I'm assuming. I mean, the Scarlet Chorus seem like shits. But if we're talking about intent, it could be that they're very eager to take out the Apex people and just forgot to tell them. That could also be a possibility. And because of that, I'm not saying that we're not going to execute people based on this fact. We don't have enough proof that the intent was to harm the disfavored as opposed to the enemy. Your ruling swept the deceased soldiers' units into a rage, which nothing short of Graven Ash's intervention kept from escalating to violence. After tempers cooled over a period of weeks, the disfavored struggled to forge an open communication with their allies. In the chorus, their attempts were met with silence and distrust. Interesting. Okay. So the Scarlet Chorus nominates us to negotiate with the realm of Apex and convince them to surrender, trusting in you to explain their inevitable defeat in terms they will understand. How will we orchestrate the surrender? Through days of meditation, or mediation, sorry. You negotiated the surrender of the Valley of Kairos' forces, putting an end to further bloodshed, taunting the Queen of Apex into striking you under a banner of truce. You baited the Queen of Apex into a duel and slew her, frightening her vassals into submission. It seems to me that he would be really tired of, like, especially if we're putting this role of, like, going through, like, peace talks and whatever. Like, he would get so frustrated that he would probably just be like, you piece of crap. This is ridiculous. You should just surrender. You guys suck. That's how he taunts the queen or whatever. And, so yeah. He's gonna just force her into a duel. Bait her into a duel. The Scarlet Chorus urged you to show the Overlord's strength by any means necessary. During peace talks, a well-placed insult goaded the Queen of Apex into striking you. You responded to the slight by challenging her to a duel. Though the Queen was skilled in battle, your field expertise outmatched her court training. As her body lay cooling on the ground, you demanded that her followers kneel before the Overlord's banner. Unable to rise above the fear of the moment, the remaining leaders capitulated, surrendering the valley to Kairos. Alright, so I guess that's year 2. Down the drain. It's gonna be a long-ass video. Fuck. Oh god, even more freaking choices. Jesus. Alright, okay. I'm regretting this a little bit now. Land of Apex finally rested in the hand of Kairos' forces, reveled in victory, affording themselves an evening's rest. So, working their way across the tiers. So we have dominate as much territory as possible. Left the choice of your next iteration yours to make. So we have Azure. Then we can... So Kairos dispatches the Archon of Stone to Azure. Kairos' gaze fell upon the Citadel, its treasures, its knowledge, and its secrets. Or Stalwart. Easily defended position of rich military tradition in the realm of Stalwart is the most formidable realm in the tiers. I think out of all of these places that Zethios would want to go to the Citadel. Let's go to the Citadel. Alright. Year 3. Oh boy. Thank you. Okay. Vellum Citadel. Archive and library of massive scale. School of Ink and Quill. Circle of mages carved out their own mountainous refuge in lands unsettled by other major realms. Legends say that the Citadel housed a treasure trove of arcane knowledge. The Overlord spies infiltrated the school and confirmed as much. The time is ripe to send a detachment to the great library fortress and force the scholars to yield to Kairos. Alright, what do we got? Song of Ensnarement. Siren's Song. Inserted some stealthy... Oh, that's a lot of S's there, game. Siren's Song ensnared some stealthy sages. Try and get through that one more time. Ready? Siren's Song ensnared some stealthy sages. Voices of Nerat? I wanted to say Nahek, but that's wrong. That's for something completely different. Or you can punish the disfavored for executing mages bound to the Scarlet Chorus, ordering that several disfavored soldiers be given to the Archon of Song as her personal bodyguards. I think this is a situation where in the world that we're in, And under Kairos' law, the disfavored overstep their bounds. And so we'll have to favor the Scarlet Chorus in this situation. The wisdom of the sages and knowledge of the Vilum Citadel were too important to silence. The disfavored balked at entering the Archon's service, but your ruling left them with no recourse. Archon's Siren, delighted in having new toys to play with, and promptly enthralled her personal guard. You spotted them in camp days later, following their new mistress with wide-eyed devotion. Interesting. I think this is going to be another thing where, in terms of what we are looking at, in the world we're in, and the way that, laws and rules work, is that Archons, people who are powerful get away with stuff in this. And so they're able to do what they want. And so Archon of Song, she has the right to do this. So your keen understanding of their ways pleased and surprised the Scarlet Chorus detachment, who thanked you for their ruling. The following evening, 2 gang bosses were murdered in their pallets and replaced by stronger variants, who fought hard to defend their status. Though the camp grew quieter over time, the Chorus fought with twice the ferocity under new leadership. The Edict of Fire. Disgusted by your approbation of the Scarlet Chorus, the disfavored forces withdrew from the battle. A small detachment now lacked the manpower to take the Citadel. Tunon sent word that Kairos' patience had run thin. The Overlord would cast an Edict of Fire on the enemy. The parchment arrived in a slender case of engraved iron. Written on it the words of the spell powerful enough to destroy the Citadel. You had the choice of when to read the edict. Reading it at sunrise would offer your enemies no warning of the devastation to come. You could also wait until sunset, giving them ample time to flee or make amends. So, opting to give the enemy no quarter, you proclaimed the Edict of Fire at the first moment of dawn, granting the enemy no warning of the destruction to come. Though the Chorus insisted your actions doomed their spies, the disfavored applauded your decision. Or claiming they still had spies, the Scarlet Chorus urged you to warn the mages of the Overlord's edict. Granting their request, you met with the enemy under a blue-black peace and warned them of their doom, giving the Chorus spies and the enemy a chance to run. I think we're going to give people a chance. You confronted the mages with the warning and hoped the message was received. An hour before sunset, numerous figures were spotted fleeing the Citadel. As the sun dipped under the horizon, you read the words of the edict. The earth shook, and red-orange light glowed in the foundation of the sprawling Citadel. Bubbling up from under the library, a torrent of lava heaved with explosive force, gushed from windows and between loose bricks, melting winding trenches in the surrounding land. Days later, the flames still raged on. The conflagration continually fed and renewed by the power of the edict. Woof. Woof. Alright, we almost through with this. Okay. Left the devastation of the Citadel in silence. The tears became to know that Citadel as now the Burning Library. Undisputed loss of resources, knowledge, culture, and life, but the message had been sent. The Overlord would not tolerate defiance. You didn't have long to rest before Tunon called you into service once more. You were one of the last to depart the mountains. As you journeyed off, you spotted a few campfires in the mountains. They were mere specks, dwarfed by the inferno, the last gasps of survivors, or perhaps looters, bored and daring enough to pick through the ashes. Well, not having a fun time going through this. Alright, so that's it. Sweet. So, I guess we'll put a stop in the video here, and we will start the, actual game now. We're done with Prologue. So, till next time, this has been Sathios, signing out for now.